Let's check the news here this morning. First up with that is Nathan Combs in the news studio.
Thank you very much, John, and good morning, everyone. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors approved a resolution during Tuesday's meeting to increase the rate billed to communities for contracted law enforcement services. According to Sheriff Ken Pingree, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office provides law enforcement coverage for the local towns that don't have a standalone police department.
We have 10 towns in our county that we contract law enforcement with. The last time the contract was done was 2014, and so 10 years ago. And in that contract, it said that the rate will be increased up to 5% every year. So it's just one of those things that sits there, and we haven't revisited with any of the towns. So basically, we're about 50% behind on our fees. And in that time, just the cost of a deputy salary has gone up 47%.
The per capita cost for law enforcement services is increasing from $14.33 per resident to $21.07, matching the 47% increase in deputy salaries. Pingree says he's spoken with area mayors and clerks, and they understand the need for an adjustment.
I did reach out to all the city clerks, most of the mayors, told them what was going to happen, and then I go around to each of our contract towns once a year and do a city council meeting with them, go over their stats and stuff. So they kind of knew this was coming. They didn't know as much, and everybody's in agreement they need to get caught up. Hopefully from here on out we can make it a point to do a 5% increase or whatever we deem necessary each year.
Communities with larger populations are seeing a more considerable increase than the smaller towns. For example, Glidden was previously billed $38,586 per year for law enforcement, which will then increase to $56,827 under the new contract. Pingree says the increases might seem substantial, but Carroll County's rates are still very affordable compared to neighboring counties.
I just had Sac County's contract. They contract with 6 towns: Odebolt, Early, Auburn, Lytton, and Shaler, and Odebolt pays $67,000, Early $28,000, Auburn $15,000, Lytton $13,000, Nemaha $11,000, and Shaler $45,000. So Lytton's well below Shaler and Odebolt, even though they have a bigger population.
The supervisors voted unanimously in favor of the contracted law enforcement billing adjustment. The change will go into effect at the start of fiscal year 2025 on July 1st. And sticking with the Carroll County Board of Supervisors, they've selected District 4 Supervisor Stephanie Hausman to serve as the board chair for the third consecutive year. Hausman says she's grateful to her fellow supervisors and the county's constituents for another opportunity to lead the board. She says her goals for the county have not changed significantly since she first took office in 2018.
I'd like to keep taxes low, but keep our community safe, still provide services. I want people to want to live here. I want people to move their families here. I love Carroll County. Obviously, living here, I think we're very blessed. But we have to keep cognizant. We have to be willing to look at what the future holds, what we can do, and keeping taxes low, but still providing a good service is key.
Another big item on the docket for the coming year is the completion of the approximately $4.5 million Carroll Courthouse HVAC improvements and interior renovation project.
That's been a huge undertaking, and I want to thank Carroll County residents for working with us through this change. Hopefully we'll be back open on that main level within the next 4 or 5 months. But the project has gone very well. We've been very fortunate, especially when you're going into an existing building. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to find. Batings have been phenomenal, and so has SCH. We've worked through a couple issues that could have been larger ones, and the supervisors have been very cognizant of the money that's being spent.
Hausman adds it's difficult to predict what challenges the county might face in the year ahead, but one thing she knows will be an issue for many Iowa counties is a new state regulation limiting annual growth in city and county budgets. She says Carroll County is well positioned financially, but it could be an issue in the years ahead.
And we can thank past boards, too, and past supervisors for paving a pretty good, sustainable future for Carroll County. I don't think we're going to have a lot of issues, but I do know that fellow county supervisors are running into a huge problem of that cap. And does it make it easy? No, for a lot of counties. But Carroll County, we are sitting well. We still have growth, and we're able to maintain and stay within reason of what that new state legislation brought out.
The law Hausman mentioned was approved during the 2023 Iowa legislative session and forces counties and cities to substantially reduce proposed levies if assessments increase too quickly. Hausman's term as board chair expires on December 31st of 2024. And that is going to be wrapping up your KCIM 6 o'clock news. I'm Nathan Cones reporting.
So a little sticker shock for some of the communities around Carroll County. It's kind of a wonder they haven't raised the fees for, what they're paying for law enforcement in prior years.
Yeah, it's just something that's kind of slipped under the radar.
Yeah.
And the overall change in terms of like revenues for the Carroll County Sheriff's Office are in the $30,000 mark. So initially it was around 70-some thousand. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me as I speak here, but it's not like a massive increase. Really, the number 47% just seems like a huge jump. But when you look at some of the smaller towns, it's not going to be as big of an increase as you might think. All you have to do is take those numbers that I talked about, the 2107, look up the most recent population numbers and then multiply times the rate per capita, and that's what the city will change. So the 47% increase, again, sounds like a lot. It's not nearly as much as people think. Glidden's is larger than others just because the rate of time that they spend compared to the other communities. The sheriff's office that is in Glidden is a little bit higher, so there's an additional fee for them. But what was interesting is everyone kind of agrees, like, yeah, you haven't changed prices on us in a long time.
It's like we were all living on borrowed time for a long time, but then those increases just had to hit. And when they do, it tends to be a very big shock to the system. But yeah, everybody had to know something like that was coming down the road. And guess what? It's going to happen again in the future as things go up in cost.
I think this large of an increase likely won't happen. It was a bit of an oversight on all fronts. Again, it's like if someone forgets to bill you and you're a customer, you're not going to call the company and be like, hey, I owe you money, right? Like most people won't. Let
me ask you this, and maybe you don't know the question. Maybe this is a better question for Brian Best. Because of what the state is giving to the cities, and they've reworked that formula and giving them less. Is that one of the reasons why that's contributing to this?
Well, so it's not really giving them less. It's not letting them capture as much growth as they potentially could on the budget front. And that's kind of a confusing formula on that end.
Without getting too far into the weeds here.
Yeah. Well, this would be a better question for Bess because he's the one who does solutions stuff. I just talk about it. But there is an interesting formula that schools use that have sharing agreements that change the school funding formula that allows them to get a little bit more money from the state if they share staff between districts. So like if Carroll and Glidden, Ralston share a transportation director, they get more state funding. I don't know how that formula works out exactly. There could be something similar that could work for cities and counties in that way.
Mm-hmm. So it's a very complex issue. There's a lot involved with it. So we'll talk with Brian coming up again about 8:06 this morning on his final go around in the Iowa legislature and more. So thank you so much, Nathan, for that news update. You can check out the local news, including those stories of once again Stephanie Hausman, the Carroll County chairman on the Board of Supervisors, and of course the increase for local towns as far as law enforcement goes. All of that available on the website, the mobile app. Check it out anytime we want, free of charge. It's 1380kcim.com.